all conflict and false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency, a federal, state, county, city, or township agency present? This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, say your name, and state your position. Number 2 reading. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner to eliminate all conflict and false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of a federal, state, county, city, or township agency present? This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, say your name, and state your position. Okay, our final reading. This meeting is private, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner to eliminate all conflict and false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agency present? Perfect. This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, state your name, and say your name and state your position. And we'll begin with a small prayer. Oh, Holy Father, bless our meeting with eyes to see and ears to hear the message and information being presented with an open and caring and compassionate heart for all our fellow brothers and sisters, as it may be done. Go take it away, Glenn.
Let it be done. Okay, so before we get too far on this, I just wanted to, for the YouTube video and the recording that I'm recording, Jupiter Sky said that in many states in the U.S. that warranto has there's been statutes that have passed that override the warranto. And that's possible. I know I'm in Texas, and I know that it's good here because I know a friend of mine that Randy Kelton in particular, that he talks about it, and so he wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't something to do. Anyways, this is a quo warranto. Quo warranto is a extraordinary writ that it basically you force. It's for you can force someone who holds office to prove that they have authority to hold that office, and so this guy. I didn't want to show his address and stuff too much because that's his. I mean, this is a public document. Anyways, I think that what happened is that he served this thing on the last one. There's 3 of them. See, this one here is done on the April 22nd. So he served this thing in April, and so of 2024. So he did 3 of them, and Trump said that he wasn't going to recognize foreign leaders that stole their elections, and that if they wanted to deal with them, they needed to. Have honestly won their elections. He wasn't going to deal with foreign leaders that didn't have legitimate authority. Anyways, it's interesting to note they use Dominion voting machines in Canada, and so My wife, who lives in Vancouver, swears up and down that there's no way that they could steal the election in Canada, but I think that they do, and especially with the Dominion voting machines, So at any rate, so this is a quo warranto. It's addressed to Mary Simon, I guess, is the Governor General in Canada, and says, I'm writing to you on behalf of all Canadians who I believe you're familiar with as you fashion yourself as a British monarch's representative in our country. The nature of this communication is a demand for you to provide unambiguous proof of your legal standing as you are currently occupying the role of Governor General of Canada. Our understanding and the information available lead us to question the legitimacy of your occupation. Therefore, in accordance with this writ of quo warranto, we demand proof of your lawful assumption of this office. So I don't know how many of you remember, Trudeau went to see Trump, and I think that he went and there was some sort of a row. I didn't talk about it too much, but Trudeau left, and there was some sort of something went on between him and Trump. Anyways, and he went back to Canada and immediately resigned. I think because you look at the last one of these, and they sent Trump a copy. Of course, it was before he was in office, but he's a pretty smart guy, and so I think that he knew that Trudeau wasn't legitimately in office, and he was telling him that you're not legitimately there. Anyways, so there, as you should know, a writ of quo warranto is an ancient and respected instrument within the common law tradition of our nation. This legal instrument appropriately applies to public officials and is intended to prevent the unlawful exercise of duties by an individual who does not possess the lawful authority to execute said duties. As per this writ, it has come to our attention that you may have assumed the position of Governor General of Canada without legitimate authority, commonly termed as being a pretender to the office. Canadians have suffered considerable damage since the beginning of your occupation of this role. We have been viciously attacked by your de facto Trudeau government and the illegal invocation of the Emergency Act. Peaceful protesters were beaten by your troops. Your horses, ridden by mercenaries, trampled Canadian citizens in the streets of Ottawa, causing at least in one case death. And you've allowed political prisoners to be held for years without bail in Coutts, Alberta. And your government now wants to jail us for life for invoking our God-given right to free speech with Bill C-63. If you're the rightful Governor General and you allowed this to happen, you've not fulfilled your only duty, which is to assure the government respects common law, and you will be held to account. If you're not, then you are complicit and will be held to account for treason. What we require from you is for you to produce the royal writ of authority that validates your assent to the office of Governor General within 10 business days from the signatory date. This will include the letter patent from the monarch containing your duties and orders. If you're unable or unwilling to provide satisfactory proof, we regret to inform you that we will initiate necessary legal proceedings without further notice to uphold the integrity of this position and to mitigate the potential damages that may result from an illegal assumption of power. This will, among other actions, include the implication of Section 27 of the USMCA, United States, Mexico, Canada Treaty, which came into effect. That's actually United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. It's not a treaty. There's a difference between an agreement and a treaty. Anyways, which came into effect on July 1st, 2020 and binds all signees. You may want to consider consulting your personal legal counsel promptly regarding this matter due to the gravity and the potential implications. Please direct all communication regarding this matter to me. Should you or your legal counsel wish to discuss this matter further, you may reach me at the contact information provided above. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter. Sincerely, and here, carbon copy, Major General Paul Alley, U.S. Army retired, and he signed it himself. Justin Trudeau, CEO of Corporate Canada, acting as Prime Minister in personam. Chrystia Freeland, acting as Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and Finance Minister of Canada. Mary Simon, Governor General. Theresa Tam, Chief Public Health Officer in Canada. Jean-Yves Duclos, formerly acting as Minister of Health in Canada, currently the Minister of Public Services and Procurement in Canada. David Lametti, former acting as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. Arif Virani, acting as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. Current members of Parliament, so they sent it out to quite a few people, all the members of Parliament. There's a bunch of them.
158.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. That's the members of Parliament. What about the Senate? There's 100 of them too.
Yeah, that act that you're talking about in 2020 is UNDRIP. It was an update to the treaty which gave the Indigenous all their land back.
The papal mode appropriate. But I like the Canadian way of doing it. You got 10 days to prove you're the king. That's hilarious.
Supreme Court of Canada judges, the RCMP commissioner, president of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. Preamble: 5 elements are indispensable in any position of public employment in order to make it a public office of a civil nature. It must be created by the Constitution or by the legislature, or created by a municipality or other body through authority conferred by the legislature. It must possess a delegation of a portion of the sovereign power of the government to be exercised for the benefit of the public. The powers conferred and the duties to be discharged must be defined directly or impliedly by the legislature or to legislative authority. The duties must be performed independently without control of a superior power other than the law, unless they be those of an inferior or subordinate office created or authorized by the legislature and by it placed under the general control of a superior officer or body. It must have some permanency and continuity and not be only temporary or occasional. In addition, in this state, an officer must take and file an official oath, hold a commission other than a written authority, and give an official bond, if the latter be required by proper authority. Yeah, they got to have a commission for sure. That's important. Writ of quo warranto. Between Norman Vincent Traversy and Mary Simon, acting as Governor General, Justin Trudeau, acting as Prime Minister, Christopher Phelan, acting as Deputy Prime Minister, Arif Virani, acting as Attorney General, Theresa Tam, acting as Minister of Health, and those 1 through 100. So there's, I guess they're unknown, those are basically unknown people, 1 through 100. So there's a 1 or 100 of them. Maybe it's the members of Parliament. I'm not sure. You're hereby demanded to answer the writ to produce evidence showing by what right or authority you hold such liberties or privileges. You must either disclaim or justify, swearing on the King James Bible, 1611 version, under the penalty of perjury, in your provision of evidence to support your claims or answers. Definitions of words and conditions used in this instrument. Authority means permission, control over jurisdiction. The word is often synonymous with power. Power delegated by a principal to his agent. Lawful delegation of power by one person over another. Power of agent to affect legal relations of principal by acts done in accordance with the principal manifestations of consent to agent. Bible means the King James 1611 version. Cognizant means jurisdiction, or the exercise of jurisdiction or power to try and determine causes, judicial examination of a matter, or power and authority to make it. Jurisdiction means it is the authority by which courts and judicial officers take cognizance of and decide cases. It exists when court has cognizance of classes of cases involved, proper parties are present, and point to be decided is within issues. It is of 3 kinds: personal, territorial, and subject matter. Personam, personal jurisdiction is authority over a person, regardless of his or her location. Territorial jurisdiction is authority confined to a bounded space, including all those present therein and events which occur there. Subject matter jurisdiction is the authority over the subject of the legal questions involved in the tribunal or professional misconduct. Quo warranto means a writ in the nature of a writ of right for the queen/king or king/queen against him or her who claim or usurped any office, franchise, or liberty to inquire by what authority he or she supported his or her claim in order to determine the right. The plaintiff in quo warranto is not required to allege any facts in the complaint showing that the alleged challenged facts are unlawful. It is enough to allege the exercise of right without lawful authority. All that is necessary or material in any count of the complaint is the general charge of usurpation. The defendant must either disclaim or justify. If he justifies, he must set out facts which show his lawful authority to exercise the right claimed. The plaintiff is not required to either allege or prove any facts. The right to call upon any person, natural or artificial, by quo warranto to justify his acts is an incident of sovereignty. The burden is on the defendant. If he attempts to justify, he must allege and prove facts which justify his acts. Such facts, when alleged, may be rebutted. The defendant, not the plaintiff, must by his answer tender the issues on which the rights claimed by him are to be litigated. The office of an information or complaint in the nature of quo warranto is not to tender an issue of fact, but only to call upon the defendants to show by what authority they claim the right to exercise the powers alleged to be usurped. In other litigation, the complaint tenders the issues. It is only in rare instances that the issues tendered by the complaint, insofar as the plaintiff's case is concerned, are departed from. This is not true in quo warranto proceedings. In such cases, the issues are never tendered by the complaint. They are tendered for the first time by the answer to the defendant, of the answer of the defendant. Parties means the plaintiff and defendants identified on this instrument. Respondeat superior means that the master answer. The maxim means that a master is liable to in certain cases for the wrongful acts of a servant, and a principal for those of his agents. Writ means in Scottish law a writing, an instrument in writing as a deed, bond, contract, demand. It has come to the attention that the plaintiff that this tribunal is operating beyond both the scope of authority and jurisdiction. I can conditionally accept your presumed authority upon proof of claim as outlined in this instrument. Factum. British North America Act, 1867. Queen Victoria enacted the British North America Act of 29th March, 1867. The provisions of this act referring to Her Majesty the Queen extend also to the heirs and successors of Her Majesty, kings, queens of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete, the parties agree to this fact. The Statute Law Revision Act, 1893, enacted as on 15th of June, 1893, which may be regarded as spent or have ceased to be in force, otherwise than by express specific repeal by Parliament, or have by lapse of time or otherwise become unnecessary, though be expressly and specifically should be expressly and specifically repealed. The British North America Act of 1867 is repealed without notice or answer, signed under the penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete. The parties agree to this fact. Canada Act of 1982. An act to give effect to a request by the Senate and House of Commons of Canada. Now know you that we, by and with the advice of our Privy Council for Canada, do by this our proclamation declare that the Constitution Act of 1982 shall be subject to Section 59 thereof, come into force on the 17th day of April of the year of our Lord 1982. Section 59 defers to Section 23 of the Constitution Act. Section 23 concerns itself with the issue of language. Section 59/23 is the condition for which the Constitution Act of 1982 will come into force and effect. As this has yet to happen, At the current time, the Constitution has no force and effect. Without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete, the parties agree to this fact. Memorandum of Points and Authorities, Rupert's Land Act of 1868, the British North America Act of 1867, United Kingdom Canada Act of 1982, Canada Corporate Filings, Ontario Province of Corporate Filings, Statute Law Revision Act of 1893, and there are links where you can go to them. Return date, May 2nd, 2024. Notice to principals, notice to agent, notice to principal. You're required to serve upon your respective agents. See distribution list acting with their fiduciary duties as de facto government agents. Response required within 10 days. Deemed admission where no response, where a party is on whom the request is served fails to be a response as required by Subrule 1, the party shall be deemed for the purposes of proceeding only to admit the truth of the facts or the authenticity of the documents mentioned in the request to admit. And the rules of rules of civil procedure. Plaintiff reserves the right to amend, retract this instrument 30 days after delivery. Respectfully signed this 22nd day of April, year of our Lord 2024. Respondents, Governor General of Canada, aka Mary Simon, and carbon copy, the Office of the Governor General. And this is the registered mail, proof of service. Demand for proof of authority, quo warranto. So this is a copy of the, and this is the back of the first page where they put a stamp on it. And this is a copy of the envelope. And it looks like a copy went to the Clerk of the House of Commons and the Supreme Court of Canada. Okay. So now let's
Yeah, I recognize it.
You do?
Yeah, that's our official registry colors. It's all satanic colors that they use.
Okay, so this is the second one, June 21st, 2024. So they had to respond by the, let's go back there.
Hey, Glenn, they're supposed to swear their oath in front of a notary that's in their region as well.
Okay,
And they always avoid that by having their oath sworn in by a peer, another council member, or another.
So it was supposed to respond by the 2nd of May, 2024. So this is sent out on the 21st of June. So they were given plenty of time. So it's basically looks like it's the same thing, right? Without prejudice, without recourse, all rights reserved. I'm not sure if I have put without prejudice, but anyways, I'm writing
1 year.
Sorry,
Just 1 year to the day. You said May 2nd, 2024. Today's May 2nd, exactly 1 year.
Sure is. That's a good point. That's interesting. Let's see, 1 year ago. I'll be back in a second.
Hey, can I put in just real quick?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Fun when you're having flies. Hey, I posted it's kind of interesting. I don't know what all the formalities are, but about Canada, the Queen was supposed to bodily return from England with papers signed, and that with live witnesses signed by her hand, and then do a public declaration. And she left Canada with the papers and never did return. So that's what the video is saying. I don't know. It's just what they're saying. So Canada was never established, actually. And so it's just the 10 provinces that exist.
So they're a
Same
bunch
here
of
in Australia.
pirates.
Yeah. Just never showed up like a pirate.
So they're all a bunch of pirates.
Creating a facade, I like to say.
Yeah, don't get me going. You're going to get me going.
You'll get me going.
Well, they're literally pirates, not because it's like NASCAR. Those were bootleggers. They really were. And so now it's NASCAR, and you go to Vegas to the casinos. Those are mobsters. It's the mafia, but now it's casinos. So
Yeah, really.
it's kind of the same thing in the United States. But what I also heard is that there was quite a slew of paperwork signed by Trump for the restoration of the republic. Now, I don't know if that gets recorded with the Postmaster General of Bern, Switzerland, also, because they're having some tiffs with Switzerland right now that you won't hear in national news. There's a lot going on in Switzerland right now. But yeah, I don't know what all the formal legalities and lawful notices are, but that's just what I heard. I wasn't there to see it, so it's hearsay.
I'm also hearing that there's some backroom stuff going on with the Pope. I mean, now that the Pope has passed, what I'm hearing actually is a 107 video, and so 107 is he's pretty sharp guy, and he talks about how the Pope, the Francis, was installed by the intelligence agencies, the New World Order crowd, and Francis went and appointed a whole bunch of woke cardinals now, and so so there's some stuff going to be going down with them soon. Like they're waiting for the funeral to be done, and then there's stuff that's going to get released. Anyway, so we'll see. I mean, we're all captive. We're all pawns in the big game of chess. But so we'll see. But there's supposed to be some stuff coming out about that too. So anyways.
And
So let's
Klaus Schwab's daughter is singing like a canary because they arrested her, and she doesn't want to go to prison for the rest of her life. So she's telling everything, and has they're getting this. What I heard. I'll post that video too. It's fairly it's quite alarming. They're going to be probably, most likely, they'll be if they get the way about it. There being if there hasn't already been, I don't think there has been. Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, several others are going to be arrested, and so it's supposed to happen in May. So
that's actually that's well, I don't know, I haven't heard any names, but I've heard that there's going to be some very high profile arrests very soon, and so there was those judges in Wisconsin that got arrested. There's a bunch of shit going down. It's in the news. You see it in the news. You got to watch for it. So we'll see. It's I'm kind of excited about it. But so anyways, so let's just continue on with this. I think we're going to talk about this, and that'll be it for tonight, because this is going to probably take up most of the night, anyways. But so the nature of this communicated is a demand for you to provide unambiguous proof of your legal standing as you're currently occupying the role of Governor General of Canada. This is the second time, and it looks like it's about the same thing as the first one. Our understanding and the information available lead us to question the legitimacy of your occupation. Therefore, in accordance with this writ of quo warranto, we demand proof of your lawful assumption of this office. As you should know, a writ of quo warranto is an ancient and respected instrument with the common law tradition of our nation. This legal instrument appropriately applies to public officials and intended to prevent the lawful exercise of duties by an individual who does not possess the lawful authority to execute said duties. As per this writ, it has come to our attention that you may have assumed the position of Governor General of Canada without legitimate authority, commonly termed as being a pretender to the office. Canadians have suffered considerable damages since the beginning of your occupation of this role. We have been viciously attacked by your de facto Trudeau government and the illegal invocation of the Emergency Act. Peaceful protesters were beaten by your troops, your horses ridden by mercenaries, trampled Canadian citizens in the streets of Ottawa, causing at least in one case death. You've allowed political prisoners to be held for years without bail in Coutts, Alberta, and your government now wants to jail us for life for invoking our God-given right to free speech with Bill C-63. If you are a rightful Governor General and you allow this to happen, you have not fulfilled your only duty, which is to assure the government respects common law, and you'll be held to account. If you're not, then you are complicit and will be held to account for treason. What we require from you is for you to produce your royal writ of authority that validates your assent to the office of the Governor General within 10 business days from the signatory date. This will include the letter patent from the monarch containing your duties and orders. If you're unable or unwilling to provide satisfactory proof, we regret to inform you that we will initiate necessary legal proceedings without further notice to uphold the integrity of this position and to mitigate the potential damages that may result from an illegal assumption of power. This will be among other actions, including invocation of Section 27 of the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which came into effect on July 1st, 2020, and binds all signees. You may want to consider consulting with your personal legal counsel promptly regarding this matter due to the gravity and the potential implications. Please direct all communication regarding this matter to me. Should you and your legal counsel wish to discuss this matter further, you may reach me at the contact information provided above. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter. And it's carbon copy, Major General Paul Valley, U.S. Army, retired. Justin Trudeau, Krista Freeman, Mary Simon, Teresa Tam, same people, and current members of Parliament. And so I guess that's 158 of them, Lori?
150, yeah. Only one or two are independents, and that's in small towns, so they barely have a voice, but all of them are led under the three main parties.
Yeah.
UMCA, the name UMCA, United States, Mexico, Canada.
And the
About the North American Union and that our currency is going to be swapped out to the euro. And I don't know if the borders will still be there, but that's what I heard the plan was for Mexico, the United States, and Canada to become the North American Union. And then they're going to revalue the gold and we're going to have the euro as a currency.
I've heard the same thing. And in fact, what I heard, and I'm not sure if how Greenland fits into that or if it does, but what I heard is that there's going to be North American Union is going to consist of 13 states. One will be Canada, one will be Mexico, and the other 11 will be what's left of the 50 states. So there's going to be some consolidations, and I've I don't know if you've been watching earthquakes lately, but there's been a lot of big earthquakes. Like I have an app on my phone, and I track any earthquake over 6. And like there was 3 of them today. Let me check my app and see if there's any more. Nope, not yet. So there was 3 of them today, and which is a bit unusual. Like a lot of times in the past, it'd go a long time without having any. And there was 3 of them today. There was some. I'm just looking at my phone. So there's a guy by the name of Scallion that said that he said that there would be that we're going to actually have a pole shift, and the new North Pole is going to shift about 3 times, about 6 degrees each time, and the new North Pole will be over in Manchuria, and which will make North America a little bit warmer, and but the earth changes that'll happen because of it. California will be a chain of islands. Phoenix will be a seaport. Denver will be a seaport, and there'll be a new seaport in Nebraska. And so there's going to be, I guess we'll see. I think that there's been a lot of big earthquakes lately. The ones that happened today, there was 2 off the tip of Argentina, and there was 1 near the Solomon Islands, which is over by Indonesia. So that's kind of like on opposite sides of the planet. That's kind of weird. Anyways, so we'll see. We're a captive audience. We get to see. So the same people were notified of this preamble. 5 elements are indispensable in any position of public employment in order to make it a public office of a civil nature. It must be created. Just a second. It must be created by the Constitution or by the legislature, or created by a municipality or other body through authority conferred by the legislature. It must possess a delegation of a portion of the sovereign power of the government to be exercised for the benefit of the public. The powers conferred and the duties to be discharged must be defined directly or impliedly by the legislature or to legislative authority. The duties must be performed independently and without control of a superior power other than the law, unless they be those of an inferior or subordinate office created or authorized by the legislature and by it placed under the general control of a superior office or body. It must have some permanency and continuity and not only be temporary or occasional. In addition, in this state, an officer must take and file an official oath, hold a commission other than a written authority, and give an official bond, if the latter be required by proper authority. So this is quo warranto, non-negotiable, between Norman Vincent Traversy and Mary Simon, acting as Governor General, Justin Trudeau, acting as Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeman, acting as Deputy Prime Minister, Arif Irani, acting as Attorney General. And so when Trudeau resigned, all of that went away. Does 1 through 100. And I guess that's John Doe's, but so that's, if there's 158 members of Parliament, I don't know if that's including, if that's what that's talking about or not. Anyways, you're hereby demanded to answer the writ and produce evidence showing by what authority, by what right or authority you hold such liberties or privileges. You must either disclaim or justify. Swearing on the King James Bible, 1611 version, under the penalty of perjury, in your provision of evidence to support your claims or answers. Definitions. Authority means permission, control over jurisdiction. The term is often synonymous with power. The power delegated by a principal to his agent, the lawful delegation of power by one person over another. Power of agent to affect legal relations of principal by acts done in accordance with the principal manifestations of consent to agent. Bible means the King James 1611 version. Cognizant means jurisdiction or the exercise of jurisdiction or power to try and determine causes. Judicial examination of a matter or power and authority to make it. Jurisdiction means it is the authority by which courts and judicial officers take cognizance of and decide cases. It exists when the court has cognizance of classes of cases involved, proper parties are present, and a point to be decided is within issues. It is of three kinds: personal, territorial, and subject matter. Personal jurisdiction is authority over a person, regardless of his or her location. Territorial jurisdiction is authority confined to a bounded space, including all those present therein and events which occur there. Subject matter jurisdiction is the authority over the subject of the legal questions involved in the tribunal for professional misconduct. Quo warranto means a writ in the nature of a writ of right for the king/queen against him or her who claimed or usurped any office, franchise, or liberty, to inquire by what authority he or she supported his or her claim in order to determine the right. The plaintiff in quo warranto is not required to allege any facts in the complaint showing that the challenged acts are unlawful. It's enough to allege the exercise of the right without authority, lawful authority. All of that is necessary or material in any count of the complaint as the general charge of usurpation. The defendant must either disclaim or justify. If he justifies, he must set out facts which show his lawful authority to exercise the right claimed. The plaintiff is not required to either allege or prove any facts. The right to call upon any person, natural or artificial, by quo warranto to justify his acts is an incident of sovereignty. The burden is on the defendant. If he attempts to justify, he must allege and prove facts which justify his actions. Such facts, when alleged, may be rebutted. The defendant, not the plaintiff, must, by his answer, tender the issues on which the rights claimed by him are to be litigated. The office of an information or a complaint in the nature of quo warranto is not to tender an issue of fact, but only to call upon the defendants to show by what authority they claim the right to exercise the powers alleged to be usurped. In other litigation, the complaint tenders the issues. It is only in rare instances that the issues tendered by the complaint, insofar as the plaintiff's case is concerned, are departed from. This is not true in quo warranto proceedings. In such cases, the issues are never tendered by the complaint. They are tendered for the first time by the answer of the defendant. Parties mean plaintiff and defendants identified on this instrument. Respondeat superior means let the master answer. This maxim means that a master is liable in certain cases to the wrongful acts of his servant and a principal for those of his agent. Writ means in Scotch law a writing, an instrument in writing as a deed, bond, contract, demand. So a writ can be a lot of different things. It has come to the attention of the plaintiff that this tribunal is operating beyond both the scope of its authority and jurisdiction. I conditionally accept your presumed authority upon proof of claim, as outlined in this instrument. The British North America Act. Queen Victoria enacted the British North America Act on 29th of March, 1867. The provisions of this act, referring to Her Majesty the Queen, extend also to the heirs, successors of Her Majesty the Queen, Majesty, kings and queens of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, material, complete. The parties agree to this fact. Statute Law Revision Act, enacted on 19th of May, 1893, which may be regarded as spent or have ceased to be in force otherwise than by express specific repeal by Parliament, or have by lapse of time or otherwise become unnecessary, should be expressly and specifically repealed. The British North America Act, 1867, is repealed. Without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete. The parties agree to this fact. Canada Act of 1982, an act to give effect to a request by the Senate and House of Commons of Canada Now know you that we, by and with the advice of our printed counsel for Canada, do by this our proclamation declare that the Constitution Act 1982 shall be subject to Section 59 thereof, come into force on the 17th day of April, the year of our Lord 1982. Section 59 defers to Section 23 of the Constitution Act. Section 23 concerns itself with the issue of language. Section 59 and 23 is the condition for which the Constitution of 1982 will come into force and effect. As this has yet to happen at the current time, the Constitution has no force and effect. Without notice or answer, signed under penalty of perjury, signed under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete, the parties agree to this fact. And then a memorandum of points and authorities. It's got links basically to all of these documents. Return date, July 1st, 2024. Notice to principals, notice to agent. You're required to serve upon your respective agents. See distribution list acting with their fiduciary duties as de facto government agents. Response required within 10 days. Deemed admission where no response. Where the party on whom the request to serve fails to serve a response as required by Subrule 1, the party shall be deemed for the purpose of the proceeding only to admit the truth of the facts or the authenticity of the documents mentioned in the request to admit. And that's the rules of civil procedure. Oh, that's RRO. That's Ontario. Ontario Revised Statutes, or Ontario Revised Regulations, I guess, of Ontario, 1990. Rules of Civil Procedure. Plaintiff reserves the right to add, amend, retract this instrument 30 days after delivery. Respectfully signed this 21st day of June in the year of our Lord 2024. And so they got printed name, two witnesses, printed name and signatures. And then also the Norman signature, Respondents General of Canada, aka Mary Simon. And then this licensed paralegal sign, Jane Scharf, Office of the Governor General, Commissioners of Oath. Oh, Commissioner of Oaths. Okay. And then this is the back of that front page right here. And this is the envelope.
You're not screen sharing anymore, Glenn. It went off.
Oh, it did? How long has that happened? Did it just start?
I just noticed it about 2 minutes ago. There we go.
Somehow it went off. Damn, nobody saw it. Nobody mentioned it. Sorry. I wonder how much you missed.
No, I saw it at one point. It was up there at one point.
That means it was not on YouTube, too. Let's look at the comments. Looks like somebody's talking about some UN. Okay, well, that's interesting. Anyways, yeah, it's showing. Oh, it's okay. So they're saying it's showing on YouTube. Well, I just fixed it. So
Okay, good. So that it wasn't off here very long.
sorry.
That means it wasn't off very long.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. 24th of July. So it starts off the same way. They have a $10 postage stamp there. Other than that, it starts off the same way. Demand for proof of authority, quo warranto. This is the third and final quo warranto I'll be serving you. Your failure to respond with written and sworn evidence of your authority will be admission of guilt as required as according to RRO, which is revised regulations of Ontario, I guess. The rules of civil procedure deemed admission were no response. This will be your acknowledgement of the commission of an actus reus consisting of fraud, sedition, and treason. Actus reus. I have written to you 3 times on behalf of all Canadians who I believe you are familiar with as you fashion yourself as a British monarch's representative in our country. The nature of these communications has been a demand for you to provide unambiguous proof of your legal and lawful standing as you are currently occupying the role of Governor General of Canada. Our understanding that the information available lead us to question the legitimacy of your occupation. Therefore, in accordance with this writ of quo warranto, we demand proof of your lawful assumption of this office. As you should know, the writ of quo warranto is an ancient and respected instrument within the common law tradition of our nation. This legal instrument appropriately applies to public officials and is intended to prevent the unlawful exercise of duties by an individual who does not possess the lawful authority to execute said duties. As per this writ, it has come to our attention that you may have assumed the position of Governor General of Canada without legitimate authority, commonly termed as being a pretender to the office. Canadians have suffered considerable damages since the beginning of your occupation of this role. We've been viciously attacked by your de facto Trudeau government with the illegal invocation of the Emergency Act. Peaceful protesters were beaten by your troops. Your horse was ridden by mercenaries, trampled Canadian citizens in the streets of Ottawa, causing at least 1 case death. You have allowed political prisoners to be held for years without bail in Coutts, Alberta, and your government now wants to jail us for life for invoking our God-given right to free speech with Bill C-63. On June 8, 2023, you were ignored a request for intervention submitted by the National Committee for the Rights of Indigenous Nations, which informed you of the Trudeau Cabinet's political interference affecting the federal justice system involving all Indigenous civil cases in the country. See Appendix A. In addition to failing to meet your legal obligations, you betrayed your brothers and sisters following the release of the final report of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous women and girls. You had, in accordance with the international rules, of the legal obligation to protect your people from any new genocidal policies that could be enacted against them. If you're a rightful Governor General and you allowed this to happen, you've not fulfilled your only duty, which is to assure the government respects common law, and you will be held to account. If you're not, then you are complicit and will be held to account for treason. What we require from you is for you to produce the royal writ of authority that validates your assent to the office of Governor General within 10 business days from the signatory date. This will include the letter patent from the monarch containing your duties and orders. If you are unable or unwilling to provide satisfactory proof, we regret to inform you that we will initiate necessary legal proceedings without further notice to uphold the integrity of this position and to mitigate the potential damages that may result from an illegal assumption of power. This will, among other actions, include the invocation of Section 27 of the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which came into effect July 1st, 2020, and binds all signees. You may want to consider consulting your personal legal counsel promptly regarding this matter due to its gravity and potential implications. Please direct all communications regarding this matter to me. Should you and your legal counsel wish to discuss this matter, you may reach me at the contact information provided above. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter. So Norman Vincent Traversy, Major General Paul Valley, U.S. Army retired, executive members of the National Committee for the Rights of Indigenous Nations. See attached signatures. Carbon copy, Justin Trudeau, CEO of Corporate Canada, acting as Prime Minister. Krista Freeland, Mary Simon, Theresa Tam, and then the members of Parliament. So I'm guessing this must have cost this guy quite a bit of money. He probably had to send this all by registered. Well, he sent it by registered, probably just sent one with just first-class mail to all these people. But, you know, in Canada, you can actually, it's called franking privilege. You can go ahead and send it to them for free, and the post office will deliver it. Supreme Court of Canada, Commissioner of the RCMP. Oh, it doesn't have the Canadian police. Anyways, 5 elements are indispensable in any position of public employment in order to make it a public office of a civil nature. Must be created by the Constitution or by the legislature, or created by a municipality or other body through authority conferred by the legislature. Must possess a delegation of a portion of the sovereign power of the government to be exercised for the benefit of the public. The powers conferred and the duties to be discharged must be defined directly or impliedly by the legislature or to legislative authority. The duties must be performed independently and without control of a superior power other than the law, unless they be those of an inferior or subordinate office created by or K1A, that's actually a postal code in Canada, authorized by the legislature and by it placed under the general control of the superior office or body. It must have some permanency and continuity and not be only temporary or occasional. In addition, in this state, an officer must take and file an official oath, hold a commission or other written authority, and give an official bond, if the latter be required by proper authority. So here's the writ of quo warranto again. Mary Simon, Governor General, Justin Trudeau, Krista Freeland, Arif Virani, Theresa Tam. You are hereby demanded to answer this writ and produce evidence showing by what right or authority you hold such liberties or privileges. You must either disclaim or justify swearing on the King James Bible, 1611 version, under penalty of perjury, in your provision of evidence to support your claims or answers. Definitions. Authority means permission, control over jurisdiction. The term is often synonymous with power. The power delegated by a principal to his agent, the lawful delegation of authority by one person or another, power of agent to affect legal relations of principal by acts done in accordance with principal manifestations of consent to agent. Bible means King James Version, 1611 version. Cognizant means jurisdiction or the exercise of jurisdiction or power to try and determine causes, judicial examination of a matter, or power and authority to make it. Jurisdiction means it is the authority by which courts and judicial officers take cognizance of and decide cases. It exists when the court has cognizance of classes of cases involving proper parties are present and point to be decided is within issues. It is of 3 kinds: personal, territorial, and subject matter. Personal is authority over a person regardless of his or her location. Territorial is the authority confined by a bounded space, including all those present therein and events which occur there. Subject matter jurisdiction is the authority over the subject of the legal questions involved in the tribunal or professional misconduct. Quo warranto means a writ in the nature of a writ of right for the king/queen against him or her who claimed or usurped any office, franchise, or liberty to inquire by what authority he or she supported his or her claim, in order to determine the right. The plaintiff in quo warranto is not required to allege any facts in the complaint showing that the challenged acts are unlawful. It is enough to allege the exercise of the right without lawful authority. All that is necessary or material in any count of complaint is the general charge of usurpation. The defendant must either disclaim or justify. If he justifies, he must set out facts which show his lawful authority to exercise the right claimed. The plaintiff is not required to either allege or prove any facts. The right to call upon any person, natural or artificial, by quo warranto to justify his acts is an incident of sovereignty. The burden is on the defendant. If he attempts to justify, he must allege and prove facts which justify his acts. Such facts, when alleged, may be rebutted. The defendant, not the plaintiff, must, by his answer, tender the issues on which the rights claimed by him are to be litigated. The office of an information or complaint in the nature of quo warranto is not to tender an issue of fact, but only to call upon the defendants to show by what authority they claim the right to exercise the powers alleged to be usurped. In other litigation, the complaint tenders the issues. It is only in rare instances that the issues tendered by the complaint, insofar as the plaintiff's case is concerned, are departed from. This is not true in quo warranto proceedings. In such cases, the issues are never tendered by the complaint. They are tendered for the first time by the answer of the defendant. Parties means the plaintiff and defendants identified on this instrument. Respondeat superior means let the master answer. This maxim means that a master is liable in certain cases for the wrongful acts of his servant and a principal for those of his agent. Writ means in Scotch law a writing, an instrument in writing as a deed, bond, contract, demand. It has come to the attention of the plaintiff that this tribunal is operating beyond the scope of its authority and jurisdiction. I conditionally accept your presumed authority upon proof of claim as outlined in this instrument. Factum. So, British North America Act of 1867, Queen Victoria enacted the British North America Act on 29th of March, 1867. Actually, there's a friend of mine that's done research on that, and what happened is what they did is they put it on a table. No, they tabled it. The Parliament enacted it, but the Queen didn't sign it. Okay, so it's a bill. That's all it is. It's a British North America bill. Anyways, the provisions of this act referring to Her Majesty the Queen extend also to the heirs and successors of Her Majesty, kings and queens of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, materially complete. The parties agree to this fact. Statute Law Revision Act of 1893, enacted on 19th of June 1893, which may be regarded as spent or have ceased to be enforced otherwise than by express specific repeal by Parliament, or have by lapse of time or otherwise become unnecessary, should be expressly and specifically repealed. The British North America Act of 1867 is repealed without notice or answer, signed under penalty of perjury, under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete. The parties agree to this fact. The Canada Act of 1982, an act to give effect to a request by the Senate and House of Commons in Canada. Now know you that we, by and with advice of our Privy Council of Canada, do by this our proclamation declare that the Constitution Act of 1982 shall, subject to Section 59 thereof, come into force on the 7th day of April in the year of our Lord 1982. Section 59 refers to Section 23 of the Constitution Act. Section 23 concerns itself with the issue of language. Section 59/23 is the condition for which the Constitution of 1983 will come into force and effect. Is this as yet to happen? At the current time, the Constitution has no force and effect. Without notice or answer, signed under penalty to be true, correct, and materially complete, the parties agree to this fact. And then this is links to these various acts, the BNA Act, the Canada Act, the corporate filings. Return date, July 31st, 2024. Notice to principal is notice to agent, notice to agent, notice to principal. You're required to serve upon your respective agents. See distribution list, acting in their fiduciary duties as de facto government agents. response required within 10 days, deemed admission where no response. Where the party on whom the request to serve fails to serve a response as required by Subrule 1, the party shall be deemed for the purposes of the proceeding only to admit the truth of the facts or the authenticity of the documents mentioned in the request to admit. And that's RRO, that's Revised Regulations of Ontario 1990, Rules of Civil Procedure. Plaintiff reserves the right to add, amend, or retract this instrument 60 days after delivery. Respectfully signed this first day of July in the year of our Lord 2024. So they signed it on the 1st of July, and they have till the end of the month. Autographs: Laura Eisenhower and Richard Bradley Wozni. I think it's Wozni. Okay, Governor General of Canada, Mary Simon, and so the Governor General. So then here is, so where did I see the Trump? I know I saw that here somewhere. Weird. Where did I see the Trump? Let me look here. Weird. Where did I see? There was another document. That was it. I'm looking for it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Here we go. So we see all that. I knew there was. Good. So this is August 21st, 2024. So after the President Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief, illegitimate government of Canada. Woohoo, go! Please find attached 3 core warrantos served on Mary Simon, who is pretender to the office of Governor General, the highest office in Canada. She's ignored each document and has failed to produce a writ of royal authority, which she does not possess. Under the rules of civil procedure and established jurisprudence and deemed admission true, Mary Simon is deemed to admitted to my allegations. In this case, Trudeau government is illegitimate under Section 27 of the United States-Mexico-Canada Treaty. It is the duty of the American government to remedy this. Woohoo, go. And that's it. That's all he said. And so Trump went and confronted him. That's what happened. So
Do you think that provoked the all the apologies that came out about the Indigenous women and all the grave sites and all that? Do you think that's what provoked all that happening? And I don't know if that was last year or the year before, but it was within the scamdemic era.
Well,
I remember.
Actually, Kevin Annett has been after him for a long time about that, about the matter of fact, he went and put him on trial. That Ratzinger, remember Ratzinger? He went and that was the Pope Benedict, right? They went and convicted his butt and
Yeah,
rape, murder, all sorts of stuff, felonies, genocide,
that's one.
and
That's one good thing the Pope actually did good. Yeah, he had no choice, right? He was compelled to act.
they convicted him. And what happened, at least from what I've heard, okay, I don't know, but what happened is the Italian police were going to arrest his ass as soon as he set foot out of the Vatican, because there's a thing called the Lateran Pact that says the Vatican or the Italian government will not they respect the sovereignty of the Vatican, and so they won't do anything inside the Vatican, and so they were gonna, as soon as he set foot out of the Vatican, he was gonna get arrested. That's why he resigned, and you notice he spent the rest of his life in the Vatican, and so um, that's what I heard happen, and Kevin Annette talks about that. Anyways, I think this is great.
You know what his job was before he was Pope? What office he held? You probably
No, what?
The office of Inquisitor. It was Inquisition, right next to the CIA, the Catholic Inquisition organization.
No doubt. I mean, it's all inquisitions. All the courts nowadays are inquisitions. There's no justice in these courts. They're all Roman law courts. And matter of fact, this is the stuff that I'm putting in this nasty gram, and I'm going to send Donald Trump a copy. But yeah, Donald Trump is going to get a copy. So is the U.S. Attorney, FBI. We'll see what happens. It's all
Maybe it'll
Roman
turn
law.
into an inquest as well. Inquest is another one that you see in common countries. I don't know if they have in the States inquests.
You don't see them here, okay? But it is an inquisition. An inquest is just an inquisition. It's the same thing. I know they have those things in Canada, and but you don't see them here. At least as far as I haven't seen them. They might, up in the Northeast or something like that, they might have them. I don't know, but I can tell you that there's no justice that goes on in something like that. They're sweeping it under the carpet is what they're doing, and so so they sent a cover letter to Trump and basically telling him about this. Pretender to the office of Governor General High, she's ignored each document, failed to produce a writ of royal authority she does not possess under the rules of civil procedure and established jurisprudence in the deemed admission rule. Mary Simon is deemed to admitted to my allegations. As this is true, the Trudeau government's illegitimate, and under Section 27 of the United States-Mexico-Canada Treaty, it's the duty of the American government to remedy this. So Trudeau, I guarantee you what happened is Trudeau knew about this, right? This was it was mailed to Trudeau on the August 1st, 2024. And so what happened is Trudeau came down and saw him, and Trump basically told him, "Get the hell out of here. You're not fucking Prime Minister of Canada." And Trudeau immediately, "I'm not going to recognize you. Get the hell out of here." And so then they had to hold a charade called that election, and so we'll see what happens with that. With the Dominion voting machines, they had Dominion voting machines. I bet you Trudeau will have something to say about, or Trump will have something to say about that too. But matter of fact, I'll bet you Trudeau's going to be under investigation for war crimes. I'll bet you. There's big time arrests happening. It's kind of behind the scenes right now. Nothing's really hit the public, other than some judges and stuff like that. But the shit is hitting the fan, and you ought to see the picture of that lady Let me see if I can find that. That one judge. Let me find the picture of that judge. There was one judge in Wisconsin that went, and right here. Oh, yeah. I got to share this. This is good. This is good. This is a judge that what happened is there's a short clip. This is actually an SGT report video, okay, and it's a Sheriff Mack interview. I would highly recommend you watch it. Anyways, what happened is there's Pam Bondi's on here and talking about it, and I guess what happened is there was one of these illegal aliens that was here that had been here, came here in 2013 or something, and got deported, and now he's here. He's back, and he beat up his wife and he beat up somebody else, and they were in court, and charged him, and this judge went and took the defendant, okay, this guy that was a gang member and beating up people, took the defendant, took him and his attorney, and took him into chambers, right? Chambers is back behind the courtroom where our office is, right? And then opened up the back door and told him, get the hell out of here. With the prosecutor and the immigration service was sitting outside wanting to arrest this guy and deport him. And so the first picture is her normal picture, and the second picture is when they arrested her ass. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's stupid. Oh yeah, don't get me going. You're gonna get me going now. So
That was 2 weeks ago.
Really smart.
that
She
was
could have
last
probably
week.
bottled some of those libtard tears and sold them and made bail at least.
yeah, I think that was within the last week. There was 2 judges in Wisconsin that got arrested for obstructing justice. I think this is one of the ones that got arrested for obstructing justice. And anyways, so Pam Bondi there was a clip where she was on Fox and she was just going off, eh? It's really good. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, good. It's about time. So justice is coming. It's
Post that in your room so we can all admire it.
well, what I do is I download the videos. I'll see if I can. Let me see if I can. I'll find the video and I'll put it in my room. Let me see here. I gotta find.
Thank you. That's a nice reward. My blood pressure went right down.
I gotta look through my trash because I already deleted it. But
I'll tell you, we haven't heard nothing from Trudy around since Mikey Carnival got in.
Since who? Oh, right, Canada, right. Haven't heard anything from Trudeau, eh? Well, they got his number. I guarantee you, they know where to find him. There's no place he can hide. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get arrested, and Christy Freeland, all of them. I'll bet you they get all arrested. It's war crimes, the stuff that they pulled. That's war crimes. That's international law. There'll be no court, no lawful court. It'll be military tribunals.
Hopefully it'll be Nuremberg 2.0.
Okay, I got it.
Well, she's getting everything that she deserves and more, I hope.
There you go. It's in my room. Enjoy. Yeah, she's only one of them. The shit is hitting the fan.
It'll be interesting to see if Trump replies to your writings.
I'll tell you, I used to send, I'd send, Jeff Sessions was Attorney General. I sent a 250-page criminal complaint against him to Trump. And Trump came out and started bad-mouthing Jeff Sessions. I sent a criminal complaint against Kirstjen Nielsen, who was Secretary of Homeland Security at the time. And Trump came out and started bad-mouthing Kirstjen Nielsen. I'm telling you, I really think he reads that stuff. I'm telling you.
I have to agree. The timing is just impeccable, with Kevin Arnett coming out with all the information that what he did about missing Indigenous and all the grave sites. And then all of a sudden,
I guarantee you there's going to be, that's war crimes too. And that stuff's going to get investigated with Trump in office. I guarantee you. That shit, that's what I'm saying. The shit is hitting the fan. And there's what they're saying is what I'm guessing. Okay, I listen to 107 all the time, and he's got some inside track. I don't know who he is. I saw him one time. He had a military uniform on. You could see his sleeve. He had a sleeve. He had it was BDUs, which is battle dress. It's camouflaged. It was he had a shirt or a jacket or something like that on. So he's in the military. He's probably an officer. I'm guessing he's an officer. Who knows? Maybe he's a general or something. I have no idea. But he's got contacts. I'm telling you, in the 90s, he said that he was on a yacht with a general when the Oklahoma City bombing happened. And I was in Oklahoma City when that happened. And so he asked the general, he said, doesn't this sound a little bit unusual? And the general says, it sure does. Anyways, so he makes little comments like that. He's got contacts. He knows about the weather warfare and about how all this stuff works. Anyways, so anyways, one of the things he said is that I think Comey was supposed to have been one of the first people to get arrested, and they're talking about that won't be till the fall now. There's going to be some really high profile arrests. They're probably not hitting the news yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Gates been arrested. I've seen stuff that said that he has been, but you just can't trust it, But it's been on the news about these two judges in Wisconsin. It's been on the news about a bunch of this stuff, and so that it's happening. I don't trust. There's some of these, websites like Real Raw News. That's a bunch of crap. I don't. What they do is it's clickbait. They want you to watch their stuff so they can sell advertising and get clicks, and they make money. And so they don't care if it's the truth or not. They just make it up. And so the important thing, and 107 says it, and Cliff High says it, and I think they're 100% correct. We need to see justice being done. And so they're not going to be having secret hangings and shit like that. It's going to be public. It's going to be very public. We need to see that justice is being done. Everybody needs to see it. and so there's don't get me going. You're going to get me going. All these people that say that so and so was hung yesterday. Well, bullshit. People need to see that it was done. There's nothing going to be done in secret. It's all going to be very public, and I have no doubt there'll be hangings. No doubt in my mind, and but whether I don't know if they'll show the hangings in public. They might just say that it happened, but it'll be announced. Okay, you'll probably see the trial happening, and that kind of stuff, and when they get convicted, and they might, after the conviction, if they stretch their neck, they might not show that. That's probably a little bit much, but you'll see the trial. I guarantee you, the trials will be on TV and all sorts of stuff. What's that?
I think they should show it, and I think they should show it to the world. And if I hate to sound brutal, but if the republic is restored, and if we don't end up with Sharia law taking over this country, I don't even want to go off on that. It should be notice to the entire world. Pardon my Greek. Don't fuck with the United States. Don't do it. I mean, I really think that we need to take Poland's stance. They're allowed to shoot to kill now. You start coming in over the border illegally, enforcing entry, you're going to get shot.
Well, and more than that, this is another video that I listened to 107, and he said that after Trump shut the border down, there's been people that have come across the border. They arrested some guy, actually a group of people that were what happened is they were driving, there was cops, and they were driving down the road with this minivan or a van or something like that. And it was bright lights. And so they didn't dim their lights. And the cop went and bright lighted them and to tell them to dim them, and they didn't. And then they pulled into a gas station without signaling. So that's two minor traffic offenses, basically. So they stopped them. It turned out that they had 250,000 rounds of ammunition in this vehicle. That's the reason that the lights were bright, because it was weighed down in the back so much that the lights were pointing up in the air like they were bright. And so they had 250. They had just come across the border. They had rented that vehicle, and they had a place that they had prearranged, a gun store, and they got 250,000 rounds of ammunition. And so and they said, Juan said that's not the only one. There's been other ones they found. They were heading for Colorado. And so they're intercepting some of that stuff. They know the stuff is going down. The shit is going to hit the fan. But hey, there's a militia. Everybody's on the militia. Okay, I'll go in a heartbeat. And you wanna screw with us? Let's party. And you know what I mean? In a heartbeat. So that's the thing. Is America is armed to the teeth. There's more arms in the hands of Americans than there is in every other military on the planet combined. Think about it.
It's the largest potentially standing army in the world.
Yeah, and it's all in the hands of the people. So anyways, it's been going on for an hour and a half now. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I just have one quick question. Go ahead, ladies first.
I'm thinking. I was just going to ask about this lady crying on my screen right here. She doesn't look too happy. What's going on with her?
Well, you must not have been paying attention, because we were talking about a judge that went and obstructed justice, and there was a gang member that had been deported previously, and the in 2013, and he came back, and he's an illegal, and he beat up his girlfriend, and he beat up some other guy, and so they had charged him, and he was in court, and so the prosecutor was in there, the immigration service was in there. They're going to arrest him and take him into custody, and deport him again, and the judge, this judge right here, went and took this defendant, this gang member, and his attorney, brought them back into chambers. You know, judges do that stuff. They come into my chambers. We need to talk in private, and so they went back into chambers, and there was a back door, and she opened the back door and says, "Get the hell out of here!" And so they both left, and so they charged her with obstructing justice, and that's why she's bawling, because she knows that she's got a problem. And we
Mary,
talked about that.
It's posted in Glenn's room now, so we can enjoy the savor the moment.
Yeah, that's SGT report video it's an interview with Sheriff Richard Mack, and it's a great interview. I'll tell you, I highly recommend you watch it. It's a great video. It's an interview with Sheriff Richard Mack. He's a really wonderful guy. I tell you, I really like Sheriff Richard Mack. Wonderful guy.
Is he from Texas?
How do I find out how to get a Sheriff Richard Mack constitutional sheriff in these parts? Because it's not just my county, it's multi-county, and Illinois. I found out that the guy in my thing, and who's that they would bust the judge? The guy in my little case here, scumbags, he got busted for drug trafficking like this, years and years ago. And then the governor signed him on to become a child trafficker in the form of a DCFS agent. And the judge who dropped the charges over in our county years and years and years ago, before he became a child trafficker, that was swept under the rug. He got busted by a task force agent, and big bust, heroin and lots of pills of ecstasy and cocaine. And he should still be in jail for that. At least 60 years. At least he should have got the death penalty. He's a poisoner, killing our babies. But years only for cocaine. Swept under at the judge level, at the county level. Then went on to become a child trafficker, and the governor was all on board for this. So who can I get involved to snitch on and report and make notes and order?
I have no idea, other than I can tell you how to get a hold of Sheriff Richard Mack, but I don't know what he can do. But I just put a link on my page. It's called CSPOA.org. CSPOA stands for Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and you can go to that website, and you can probably contact him through there.
Sheriff Mack is no longer part of that. Sheriff Darley from Michigan is now head of it.
I don't know. Sheriff Mack is still involved with it for sure.
I don't know about that.
Who's in charge from Michigan with that? I couldn't hear you.
Watch that SGT report video, because he talks about it on there. So come to your own conclusions.
Thank you. Where can I find the link, please, Glenn? Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
My page on Telegram, on my page in this We Are Law group, is CSPOA.org.
Buffering.
Yeah, CSPOA.org.
It's right in Glenn's room, Mary. So, do you have a couple of minutes, Glenn, so we can talk about the book? Because I was asked this week
Sure.
about
You want to talk
something
about
that
my book?
in the book. Yeah, the Trump book, of course, because I've been enjoying it over the past 10 days. But one thing that came up was the martial law, and that there are clearly three classifications for martial law that the person that I was talking about it wasn't aware of that. So I was going to ask you, first off, on your way back to Texas, did you experience anything of that nature? Along with somebody said that there were checkpoints in actually Washington. Can you elaborate at all?
City of Washington or
Yeah.
Washington
D-
State. I didn't go anywhere
no,
near Washington State.
DC. DC. You said you went through DC.
No, I didn't. I avoid DC like the plague. What I do is I go down um, I-95, get on 695, and then I go on 70 and I go west on 70 to I-81, and then I go south on I-81. So I miss Washington D.C.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
good.
I don't know how far I am. My GPS always wants to take me through D.C. and I'm not. Actually, it was kind of late at night, so I could have gone through D.C. because the traffic wouldn't have been very heavy. But otherwise, in the daytime, the traffic is a nightmare in DC, and so and I don't want to be in DC anyways. I just assume go a longer route, and there's toll roads and all sorts of crap in DC, and I don't want to have to deal with them. So I just that's what I do is I go down 95. Well, actually, I go down um, I 295 to 95, and then go down 95 to 695. 695 goes around Baltimore, and so I go down around 695 to I-70, and then I go west on I-70 to I-81, and then I-81 takes me all the way to I-40 down through goes down all the way through Virginia and some of Tennessee, go down I-40, and then I-40 I go straight across I-40 to Little Rock, Arkansas, and then it's 30, go down 30 into Texas.
So you're not on the 66 at all.
Well, they say that Route 66 is near I-40 in some areas, like in New Mexico. When I go to Arizona, I always go on I-40 to Arizona because I don't want to. My GPS wants to take me on I-10, and I've been, had the border guards, the border patrol assaults me if I go down there, so I stay away from there, and I go on 40. And when I um, one route that will take me into Phoenix is sometimes it takes me down through Camaro, New Mexico, and I pick up 60, a US 60 at Camaro, and Route 66 is not too far from that. US Route 66 is US 66, and so it's kind of close to that. It's depending on where you're at. US 60 goes down through the Salt River Canyon and comes in through the Globe and Superior, and into Phoenix from the east. Matter of fact, US 60 goes right through Phoenix, but I usually get off because I go south down to Casa Grande. But yeah, so US 60, Route 66 isn't too far from that, though. I can tell you, there's been times when I've seen signs about Route 66, like in western New Mexico. There's signs when you're going through a town called Santa Rosa, there's signs there about Route 66. So I don't know where Route 66 goes, but I know that it crosses I-40, at times, and I know that it's near US 60 at times too.
Yeah, they say the I-40 or whatever is the new updated 66 or something. Yeah, it goes east to west. So no, the reason I'm glad you didn't experience anything of that nature on your route.
Yeah, don't be putting
And
out bad vibrations.
no. I was just asked about the martial law being in DC, and I wanted to know if you had gone through there, and I'm glad you avoided it like the plague. That's good. But in your book, you define everything so eloquently about the 3 different stages, and page 59, I would read it out maybe if you have time to listen to it. It's just that 3 brief descriptions of what they are.
Go ahead.
But there were some folks that weren't even aware that there were the different versions. So full martial law is the declaration of martial law is issued, and troops are out on the streets, used only during wartime and used on foreign country or when actually invaded by a foreign power or to put down an armed rebellion. And then martial law proper, the law of the law of armed forces, and B, when a captain tells the private what to do, and enforced by the courts martial. And martial law rule is law of necessity and emergency, and allows the domestic use of martial law powers used during times of peace. So I guess martial law rule is what Trudeau tried to bring in here, right? The lowest form of martial law.
Actually,
States is under martial law right now because the Emergency Banking Act. We've been under martial law since 1871. People don't realize that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Same thing
Police are
in
out here
Canada.
regulating commerce. They're not law enforcement. The police are literally not law enforcement. They regulate commerce. That's it.
They're military police. You got to understand, first of all, that martial law is international law. Okay, that's the law of war. Okay, the law of war is part of international law, so it's the same everywhere. And the only differences in Canada is that Canada has acceded to the Rome Statute, so then the Rome Statute applies in Canada, whereas U.S. has not acceded to the Rome Statute, so therefore it doesn't apply here. The International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction in America. It does have jurisdiction in Canada. And but that's the only difference. And so, as far as martial law is concerned, it works exactly the same way, whether you're in Canada or the U.S. or France or Germany or any country. It's all the same stuff. And so you have to understand that. And Canada, I don't know if you've made out any checks for taxes in Canada. If you notice, it says that you're supposed to make out checks to the Receiver General for Canada. Well, think about it. That's a receiver in bankruptcy. And so because of the bankruptcy, it automatically is the law of emergency and necessity. That's martial law rule by definition.
Yeah, I made out too many of those checks.
Every year we've been in martial law. You don't have money. It's it's a military script. It's commissary. That's what Federal Reserve notes, commissary. It says right on it, if you read it, it tenders debt, not settlement or payment of anything. It tenders debt.
That's one of the big indicators of martial law, because you don't pay for anything. It's all military script. Federal Reserve notes, Bank of Canada notes, Bank of England notes, they're all military script. And that's there was a guy that I met that had been in Korea when we're still in Korea, but he had been in Korea back when the war was going on, and he talked about how they had military script, and the military base would have military script, and it'd all be good on the base, and so what had happened is a lot of these GIs would spend their military script at the local restaurants, and they'd take it, and then every once in a while they'd change the script. They'd say, well, this other script is going to be no good in 10 days. We're coming out with new script. And so what would happen is these local restaurants would be going after the GIs. Hey, you trade my script in, please. And so the point being is that I've heard that that's what's going to happen here too. The Federal Reserve notes they're gonna come out with I don't know, maybe that's when they come out with the Amero or something. I don't know. But they're going to, the U.S. has never done that. In Europe, they do it all the time. But they're going to do it here soon, and maybe in the summer. That's what I've heard. That's a rumor.
Have you heard anything about South Dakota and Utah turning the gold standard and Hawaii?
I've heard rumors about it, but that's about it. But what they do is they still have to, they make it so that you can use gold to pay for stuff, but they convert it to Federal Reserve notes. And sometimes the exchange rate is not very good, so nobody ever does it. I've taken silver into the court to pay filing fees, hoping to get, a lawful court, and they convert it into Federal Reserve notes. And they give you a lousy exchange rate too at that.
And most people aren't aware of who our true enemy is. It's not the people themselves. Oh yeah, Iraq, Iran, all these old wars. It's not. It's the same enemy it's been since the War of Independence. It's the same ones. It's the banksters in London. It's Britain. That's the enemy right there, and Canada's enemy is Britain. Hate to say it, but it's
actually it's the Vatican.
Well, the Vatican, London, and DC are one entity. They're one nation. They're separate. They're each their own independent nation state, but they are one. They are one nation state.
I agree. Matter of fact, yeah, DC, the City of London, and the Vatican. I agree.
And all three of them have that obelisk. They're all identical.
Yep. Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Has anybody got anything else?
No, but everybody pray for us here in Washington State. We're in a shit ton of, we're probably in more trouble than any other state in the union. There's a lot of crap going on. I don't want to elaborate. It'd take too long. We're in a lot of trouble here. I think if hard martial law is declared in any state, it'll be in this one first. So, and it's the first state to declare the new Islamic holidays, state holidays. We used another fraudulent election because of mail-in ballots. Got rid of Inslee. No one wanted anybody like him again, and now we got someone that's even worse. So, and they're spraying every day, just bombarding us. We have nothing but synthetic clouds in the skies. We don't get to have sun. I'm just thinking about going to Idaho. I'm just about sick of it. So I got an RV to live in. So just pray for Washington State. That's all we can do.
If you watch that video that I linked in my video with in my page with Sheriff Richard Mack, he rails on the state of Washington big time, and so I guess we'll see how it all plays out. I think I guess we'll see. That's all I can say. How it's all going to play out. I think that Pam Bondi is going to go after some people there, but I mean, technically, the federal government's supposed to stay out of the states, but there's also an issue of civil rights. And when people are getting the civil rights violated, the federal government can step in. And so we'll see. Just like this judge right here, that is going to go to jail for obstructing justice, and then she'll never be able to hold a public office again.
My understanding of the states is each state is a independent republic and somewhat of a sovereign state, except matters affecting other states or the United States as a whole. So they can't do something that's going to adversely affect California or Oregon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. Every state is a nation by itself. That's why it's called the national bank. So every state is a nation. That's true. But there's going to be some major disruptions here over the next. I don't know how much longer. I'm guessing the next couple of years, anyways, or 3 years. There's going to be shit happening all over the place. So we'll see what happens. Again, we're at war. Okay, we're at war with the communist Chinese, and I wouldn't be surprised if we invade Cuba and Venezuela. I guess we'll see, because they attacked us too, with this stolen election, and that stuff is coming out, and so we are at war. I wouldn't be surprised to see China invade Taiwan. We'll see what happens. That's all I can say. I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. And so this is just all rumors that I'm hearing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see, I'll bet you China invades Taiwan, and you know, I just hate to see uh, what I'm thinking is going to happen. The remote viewers said that, and so if India, what I've heard is India and Pakistan are going to go at it with nukes, and but think about it. The only reason the Chinese haven't invaded India, there's skirmishes on the border all the time, and the only reason the Chinese haven't invaded India is because they have nukes. And if India and Pakistan go at it with nukes and use up their arsenal, there'll be nothing stopping China from invading India. And I've heard that the remote viewers saw that the Chinese killed 25 million people in India, in New Delhi alone. And it'll be a bloodbath. I hate to even think about it. I mean, it's just that's why I say I think it's going to get really, really ugly. We'll see. We're a
It's
captive
kind of
audience.
sad for the situation if it's the case. What I heard is that there's nowhere near, even in the neighborhood of 1.4 billion people left in China anymore. There's vast cities they're stark empty. There's nobody on the streets, no one on the trains. All the apartments are empty. There's huge, giant cities all over China they're empty, and there's millions and millions and millions and millions through COVID of cell phones that just became inactive. So there's something they're not telling us.
I agree. I've heard that too, and so, I guess we'll see. It might be. I can tell you that Cliff High said a couple of years ago that they opened up 2 colleges to train People's Liberation Army officers, just the officers. They opened up 2 colleges a couple of years ago, and they were training like 35,000 a quarter. And so, I don't know where the people are gone. That maybe they're in the army. I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's why I say I just have a bad feeling, and I think it's going to get really, really ugly this year. Cliff High even has a saying, "Stay alive in 25," and so I think that this year is going to be really, really ugly. So I stay alive in 25. I think that's a good motto to have. Anyways, I suppose that's about it. We're on 2 hours now. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Well, I'll leave more questions about the book for next week then, but I want to do that giveaway at the end of May. So anybody that wants to read Glenn's book and wants an opportunity for it, then put your name in his room, and then at the end of this month, either myself or Queen or someone else will put all the names in a hat and pull it. So that's it's good information in there. He's got all the court cases. There's tons of court cases in there. Like, how do you remember all those court cases? So I have more questions about you and Mike Blackwell. So I'll leave that for next week, but I want to just start that going. So we get the next Trump 2 book written. That's what my goal is.
Yeah, actually,
Okay, so
I've been thinking about writing a revision for sure.
yeah, and does Mike want to be on board with that as well? Because his viewpoint with his background is, good to hear.
Yeah, Mike. Mike. He asked me to write the book, but I wrote the book. So he's really not in there. He babysat me through the process of getting ready to publish, and he actually financed the book. And so that's going to be the question whether he wants to, because it costs like, I think it was like $17,000 to publish the book. He had to hire a company to help us. And of course, if we wait, I might have the 17 grand with this exceedingly thing. I might be able to just pay for publishing it myself. And that way I won't have to. He'll still get a royalty off it, but it won't be as much as he gets off of this book because he paid to publish it, and so that was one reason I put his name on the book because he paid to publish the book, and he's the publisher too. But he had to spend like about $17,000 to get it published, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, hardcover. It's a hardcover book. That's expensive.
Yeah, it's good quality for sure. It's a good quality book.
How much is a book?
Sorry?
So is your group the last group that's in the chat there? USA News chat group, anything goes, that one?
Nope.
No, actually, Glenn has his own group, own room.
Oh, Glenn.
How do we join? How do we join and then we could ask you direct questions?
You go into the We Are the Law where you see the hashtag, or how would you stack it?
Yeah, I'm in there.
Title page, hit those drop.
You look for the Glenn Fern page.
And then views topics. And then from the view as topics, you can get into Glenn Fern if you don't see it any other way. Those 3 little dots next to the We Are the Law above the drop-down menu. Views topic and Glenn Fern. Drop your name there.
Yeah, there were 68 groups the last time I counted, so the board's
always familiar too. Glenn, do you make a lot of YouTube videos?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and it's called Sovereign Living. Matter of fact, this is a live stream on YouTube right now.
Yeah, that's you. Your face on here sounds the same on YouTube.
Yeah, it's live streaming on YouTube right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate this time that you've spent with us tonight, and I hope next week you'll be around for more questions about the book.
Sure.
And
is your publishing company, and where can I obtain a copy of your book? Where do you sell it at? Where do they sell it
You
at?
can order it from my website. It's sovereigntyinternational.fyi.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, it's very enlightening. I've been savoring it while having peaceful moments. So I'm
Thank you.
not necessarily going to give up this copy because I want to compare it to the new version, but I will invest another copy so that somebody else, a lucky participant, can enjoy it as well and see all the good information in there because it's priceless. So, thank you, Glenn, for your time. And yeah, stand by for, well, I had a bad taco joke, but guess what? I only got the first part of the joke. I have to wait till next week to get the punchline. So do you, unfortunately. But it's just a bad taco joke, so beware.
Funny joke to be fair in itself. Thank you.
All right. Well, nice talking to you guys, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place, same channel.
Sounds good. And we'll talk this week. And I'm glad you got home safe. Thank you for being here.
All right. Well, thank you. And we'll see you next week. And maybe once we get some of that exceedingly going for you, then you can come down for a visit or something, or go to New Jersey.
Just get on your knees tonight and pray that this wheels is going to work out tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'll let you know. You too. Have a good night.
See
Ciao.
you.